I did have a season where I was like that, and then I would trick myself. It's like, you got to grind harder, you got to push harder, stay up till 3 a.m, you got to get better and better and better, thinking that I'm not going to be enough. And it's just like, dude, yo, if God is with you, then who could be against you? Like, just take the pace that that he has you at. Like, be secure in yourself. Like, where he has you, he has great things planned for you. So just trust the plan.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Godly Gains podcast. It's your host, Naomi.
What's up, beautiful people? It's Michael here.
Yes, we are so happy to see you guys. It is a beautiful Monday, so we're ready to just get into the week and just kill it. And we have some news for you guys because we're changing up things just a little bit, right? All right, babe, you want to tell them about what we're doing?
Yeah, so I think we were just discussing, and we were just realizing, like, doing the podcast the way we were trying to do it was like pretty difficult. And some of you guys already know this, and I've shared this with you, Bub, is that you have a very beautiful spiritual gift. You have a very beautiful spiritual gift of wisdom.
Thank you, babe.
And the whole reason of this podcast was to be able to spread that wisdom, but trying to be able to juggle having a conversation, making it so that we're having a conversation with us, but also trying to give wisdom to the people is really hard. I like the analogy that you said. It was like, it's kind of like having a conversation here loud enough so that person can hear, but they're not really included. And we didn't really feel like it was organic, and it felt kind of awkward and funny. Yeah. So with this podcast, we're going to still be here every single Monday, but we decided that this podcast is going to be dedicated to pretty much document our walk with Christ and to be a living example. One of the things that I do want to share with this podcast is that the moment that we launched, I think you feel this way too, is I felt this like new sense of responsibility, and I felt the podcast really changing me. Like, it wasn't enough that I was talking the talk. The podcast really made me feel like, bro, you got to walk the walk now too, because you putting it out there.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be, one of our focuses here. We're going to talk every Monday, reveal to you guys how Christ is working in our lives, some tips and tricks, and I'm sure the topics will come up, organically. And I think this is just going to be a better way for us to have a conversation. Because I don't know about you, but do you feel like, I know we have chemistry, but the way we were doing it, our chemistry was just like, not working.
Yeah, definitely. And that's why I feel like with the podcast, there's an art form to the podcast, and that's what we realized. But we came in with the idea that we want to just be able to share with you guys these multiple topics that have changed our lives personally, and then also just a walk with us, because this Christian lifestyle, or just this walk with Jesus, I should say, is not the easiest, and we need fellowship, and we need friends, and we need community in this. So that's exactly why we started the channel in the first place, because we wanted to create that. We're going to be vulnerable. We're going to be sharing with you guys what God has revealed to us. And we don't gatekeep here. So whatever God is giving to us, we're going to give that right back to you guys. We're just steadfast on this journey. And we just want to see where God takes us.
Yeah. Like, the name of the podcast is exactly what we're going to be doing here. We're just going to be talking about godly gains.
Talking about the name of the podcast. Bro. Can you show them why
something like this? Because, I got a little surprise. First of all, thank you, Chris. This is super awesome. When Naomi showed me the picture, I was super excited. Thank you so much, bro. This gift means a lot to us, but y'all need to check this out. Look at this. Look at this. We got our first official merch here. Woo! Got our Godly Gains sweater.
Yep.
So now we have a little bit of a uniform here.
If you also want a Godly Gains sweater, let us know in the comments. We'll send you one.
Bro, this is Chris. Again, thank you, man.
Eventually, when we start.
This is one of the coolest things that I saw. I got so excited when he sent it to us.
Oh my God, that was like such an amazing birthday gift from Chris.
So I do have a question for you, real quick, since we were already kind of touched on the topic. How do you feel about the podcast? Like, do you feel like it's had an effect on you?
I love the podcast so much. The podcast is so great because it just allows me to finally do what I feel like God's been telling me to do. And I feel like I can give God his glory in a way where I've never been able to before. and it's just changing me for the better. And I'm just, I don't know how to explain it, but I feel like if I don't do the podcast, then I'm letting, like when I get to my final day and it's me there and I'm standing there with Jesus, he's going to be like, why didn't you do the podcast? I told you to do a podcast. You didn't listen to me. Like that would be on the list of things that God told me to do and I didn't.
Yeah, I feel you on that.
So so it's just been, it's been awesome. I'm excited to see where this takes us.
That's awesome. Do you feel like, because I feel like I felt this way, do you feel like the rate that you were growing at has maybe switched a little bit, like maybe gone a little bit more real? Because now we, like I said, we talking the talk and we got to walk the walk.
Of course. I think it definitely has. And it's just that new level of responsibility. But the best way to put it is I want something to keep me accountable. It's just what we need.
Yeah.
What about you? How are you feeling with the podcast and trying to fit it into your schedule, and how's that going for you?
To be honest, like fitting it into the schedule isn't crazy hard. Mm-hmm. Like you talk about like how Jesus said, like, I gave you a podcast. I feel that way too. It's like, this isn't something that I had ever planned on doing. It's like, this is where God put me.
Right.
But in doing it, I fell in love with it. It's almost, it pretty much is the same passion that I'm starting to get for this. And that encompasses everything. The way I speak, how I do my Bible study, how I walk, how I talk to people, how I treat others. The effect that I'm getting from it, I'm getting the same type of passion that when I first picked up a camera and started recording. And I'm like, whoa, I haven't felt this way about a project in a while. Yeah. So I knew that this podcast thing was going to be really beneficial. And it really means a lot too when like homies come up to me and they're like, hey bro, I saw the podcast. That one thing that you said, I was like, it's funny. It's like, as much as we know that you guys are here.
Yeah. It means the most. It means the most,
but you also forget. Yeah. Like you were telling me the story about the other day, where like somebody in the gym came up to you and was like, said something, and then you had completely forgot that you asked like, how do you know that about me?
Right. And then they're like, I listened to your podcast, and I was like, oh, you listen? Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah. That was
but this podcast stuff has been really awesome, guys, and
I want to say something.
Yeah.
Sorry, really quick about the podcast and all that is. I feel like the podcast for me, actually, to go back to my answer, is really special because for once I'm actually able to creatively express myself. And for the majority of my life, like literally, I'm 28 right now, 26 years of my life, I always told myself that I was not creative and that I was just, I don't know what I was, but it just wasn't the type to create content. Like I always struggled so much with that. But the podcast has made me realize that I just needed to find my avenue. And I felt like I really found my lane. So whoever's listening right now, I just want to encourage you to spend some time with yourself and ask yourself what you're really good at. Like think about it. You have to think about, what has someone complimented you on before? Is it your style, or like, you know, for instance, the way you speak, or I don't know, or your voice, something like that. Use those little things, because that is exactly how those are the gifts that God gave you, so that you can use that to creatively express yourself. And we're all creative. And that's what I really want to drive in, because for so long, I really, really did not believe I was creative. And so it feels so good to find something that just feels right for me to do and to speak. I just feel like I'm now living in what God has told me all along, that you had that in you. Yeah.
I love that, Bob.
Yeah, so
I love that for you.
That's my take on the podcast.
It's cool, right? It's exciting.
Yeah, it's really exciting, because then I feel like when you really know yourself, when you start being able to creatively express yourself, you start to really get to know yourself.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, like by speaking and the accountability, and we'll watch our tapes back and we'll look at ourselves and be like, oh, you do this a lot, you do that a lot. But it's not in a way where we want to judge ourselves, but in a way where we can get to know ourselves and be accountable and be like, maybe I want to change that, or this is great, let's keep it. But it's that...
it's like when an artist critiques their own work to get better.
Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, when they're creatively drawing and doing that, they also know that when they draw nature, it feels right to them. They feel it in their soul. Or when they draw people, it feels better. It doesn't feel good for them. So it's like when we speak on this camera, we want it to be as most natural as possible because we know that it is our avenue. So when we do things, like if they've seen the rest of the podcast, some of them, when we watch them back, guys, we're just like, like we had a message for you guys, but then when we look back, we're like, it just didn't get across the natural, organic way that we know that we could have given it to you if you were here and speaking to us. But that's the whole art form, is learning
how to do that,
learning how to do it and make it most natural, because everything's got to be, it has to be natural. Anything forced is, I don't want it. I really hate anything forced. And I feel like we can all agree. I made you laugh.
No.
My whole thing is that I love unlocking people's perspective, and my perspective, I've allowed it to be unlocked by a lot of people I look up to when it comes to like the motivational space. And it's when those certain things clicked in my head, it changed everything. And I know that we can change everything when we change ourselves. So I'm so compelled to also do the same and share what I've learned along my way, along my journey, to give that to other people, because I just know how profound it can be.
Yeah.
And just setting people free, because the world has locked us up for so long in the way that we believe. And even me still, I'm just trying to be on that quest. So it's another accountability check of unlocking myself so that I can have the most and more to share. I just love the way taking on new things, at first they're just it's such a hassle to, like, when you start a dream, you have the dream and it becomes a hassle to make everything come together, like, buying the couches or
start thinking all the logistics.
The logistics, the startup or whatever. It can be hard, but it's
the list to build the dream.
Yeah. But once you start it, it's like you just have to enjoy every single process of it. Like, even shopping when we shopped for these couches at IKEA, and just talking about, like, we sat on the couches and we pretended to do a mock podcast, and I'm always going to remember those little memories, just doing this. And now that we're actually recording and we're uploading, it's like, now we got sweaters and stuff like that. And just to see the growth, I've always wanted to, I think a lot of us have had that, where we had an idea, and then to really, when you get to see your idea actually come into existence, even though it's on a small scale, there's something about it that just makes it's such a self-fulfillment feeling. And I recommend everybody to do it, just to start it. And who gives a, like, I was going to say a flying pig. I don't know why. Who gives an F about what anyone thinks about it? If it feels right to you, just do it, because you're going to be able to, like I said earlier, creatively express yourself in a way that's going to be so liberating for your soul. So whatever it is that you want to do or you're dreaming of, please just do it for the sake of you, and not what other people are going to think about it. But it always starts with just you. And I've been really telling myself that a lot.
Yeah, you and God.
God, like, connect with him.
Like, I've been saying this phrase a lot lately, and I think it's been really powering me through. It's like in the scripture when it says, if God is for you, who can be against you? I'm just like, bro, like,
you throw that one at me all the time, and it's
because
so
it's
good.
so true. Like, I don't know. I'd probably say,
if God is for you, who can be against you?
It means the most to me, because one of the things that I struggle with, right? I've been in this creative space a little bit longer, right? So I've definitely learned to love all the little steps that you're saying, but then there's a part when you've been a creative for a while where you start being overly critical of your work, and you start being really mean to yourself, and it can get very toxic. And I did have a season where I was like that, and then I would trick myself. It's like, you got to grind harder, you got to push harder, stay up till 3 a.m. watching tutorials, you got to get better and better and better, thinking that I'm not going to be enough. And it's just like, dude, if God is with you,
then who could be for you?
Then who could be against you? Like, just take the pace that that he has you at. Like, be secure in yourself. Like, where he has you, he has great things planned for you. So just trust the plan.
Right. The irony of that is that the more you fixate on, let's get better, which you do want to be able to always seek improvement. But when that becomes toxic, it actually does this reverse effect on your creative ability, and you become stuck, and it gets so hard to catch a flow because you're so consumed with, are they going to like it? Is it going to be good enough? Is it going to be worth something? But I've been recently understanding that creativity, the way that it works, is it really can't be for feedback and it can't be for attention. Like, you just have to do it because of the genuine, like, I want somebody to feel what I'm putting out there, or I'm just creatively expressing, or emotionally expressing my emotions. Expressing my emotions in a creative manner.
Yeah.
And then someone might relate to that.
Yeah.
So you just have to do it in that way. But yeah, again, like it's a natural human thing though to be so self-critical and always want to be better. But with being better, just understanding that the way that creativity works, it's just about letting it flow and then let it get better with time again, just naturally. But don't be so fixated.
It's really cool to be a witness to this new journey and this new path of you, this new chapter or this new season of you being creative, because like I see you at the beginning of it, and like I said, I've been in it for a while, just in a different arena.
Yeah.
But it's really cool to hear your perspective. It's encouraging. It's encouraging to hear your perspective because I'm starting to when you speak and the way you speak about it is really the heart and soul of what it means to be creative. Like even when I was at Lightning in a Bottle this weekend, I'm with a bunch of creators, and I was really noticing like everybody's style is just different. But then like I look at the style and then I look at the creator and I'm like, yeah, your personality like matches that. That's really, really cool. Like the homie Mariah, she's really good at capturing moments and candid moments with like people, or even directing people to do certain things, like asking people to do that shit. And I'm like, your content reflects how friendly and cool you are, right? And then like the homie Dylan, he has these really dope kind of like complex edits where it's just like, whoa, like the sound design is cool and like the shots that he uses are powerful, impactful. And I look at the guy, I'm like, dude's like super swagged out. Like he's swaggy. Like I love his energy. He's super dope, And then Cam too. Cam is just like a firework. He has like all these like creative thoughts and the way he manipulates videos and stuff like that. And I'm like, dude, your personality matches that too, because you're just so friendly and all around and like, hey, what's up?
And that's what makes everyone's different, and that's what makes it all so exciting at the same time, because it's like you can't replicate that because there's a personality behind the work.
Yeah.
And
so the main thing is to make sure that you love what you're doing so that your artwork reflects you.
Yes.
And don't worry about the feedback, as you said. Make sure that you're proud of the thing that you did.
Right. And then
which is why we watch our podcasts over and over, and I don't know about you, but linguistically, I think it's really cool. I'm like, dude, you need to learn how to speak better, speak more eloquently, learn bigger vocabulary.
The only time the podcast actually, when I'm editing back, like the most self-critiquing part that really gets to me when I'm watching it is when I'm like, you're not being 100% you. Like whenever I'm being, whether that be like me being too uptight or me speaking so fast or speaking where I can see myself holding my breath, I'm just like, that's not you. You're a very comfortable person. You're chill. So then when I see myself and I see a part in a segment of a podcast where I actually do let those guards down and I'm like, bring that out, because that's what feels right to me. So when I see anything that's why I could really not understand someone using a fake voice and like talking like this, because it's like, dude, that to me would make me feel sick, because I'm just like, you're not being real.
The Kim Kardashian voice?
Yeah, like it's just that it's like super exhausting. But then I'm like, whether I'm at a point now where as long as I'm myself, if somebody doesn't like that, I can just hang my hat on the fact that I was myself. But then if I try to be something that I'm not, and someone doesn't like that, then I'm going to be like, okay, then how can we fix it? Yeah, exactly. Because then I'm like, I don't like myself. You don't like me. So it's that. And I heard this one time and it really stuck with me. It said that if everybody likes you, then you probably don't like you. And that really hit for me because...
Damn, where'd you hear that at?
I forgot, but that hit me because of my past people pleaser tendencies. It made me think like, yeah, it's so true. Like if you want everyone to like you, you do not like you because you don't even know who you are, because you're constantly fitting everybody else's.
You're morphing.
And you're fitting everybody else's idea
trying
of
to be
what
a chameleon,
exactly
blending into every crowd. Yeah, that makes sense. Which
Yeah.
sucks because then at night when you're laying in your own bed, you're like having this existential crisis.
and then
Who am I?
you just don't get that same, like, the whole point is to have a release when you create that content, and you don't get that because you're so, does it look good enough, like, and that's why I'm so tired.
Can I share that?
Go.
Everything you just described that's me. Like I feel like I embody that a lot.
Explain. What do you mean?
Especially so, like, you know that like I'm an only child, right? So every friend that I made was like, I'm trying to hold on to every single one of them. But then in doing so, I had this trauma of like I always worried about what people thought about me.
Right.
Not in the sense of like if he's cool or not, but just like I want you not thought about me. I wanted everybody to like me. That's what it was.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So I felt like I would constantly be switching depending on which group I was hanging out with. Like, oh, let me try and fit the vibe. I would be a chameleon.
Yeah.
But one thing about living in that life is that there's no peace. And that's one of the biggest things that I got from Christ peace. Is when I walk with Christ and he said like, nah, bro, like you are you. Like you are who I told you to be. I made you exactly how I made you. Like be confident in you. Like if you stop worrying about what other people like, you would actually take the time to sit here with me and realize the beautiful things that I've built and instilled in you, and you can spread that to everybody else. People will like that if you were to just focus on what I gave you.
Yeah.
And once I really understood that, that's that peace that I read in the Bible every time. I'm like, bro, I know what that peace feels like. I'm just like, I can literally just chill here. Like somebody can say something that
I love that, babe.
Yeah, somebody can say something that they don't like about me, or they can call me. I was like, I don't like you because I think you're blah blah. I'm like, cool. I got that peace now. Like my peace is so solid. Like it would take a lot to rock it.
Right. I feel like you now embody that crazy, and you've been embodying that, since we've met. Like, but I've just seen it progress and progress and progress, especially now introducing Christ into your life. It's just like on a whole nother level of you just being true to yourself. And I feel like for a long time, same thing with me, just that people pleaser tendency to just fit, always in. And when you finally break out of that, it's like, yes, you're not going to have the same amount of attention you once did because you're trying to please everyone, whatever. But that sense of peace and that sense of knowing yourself is like nothing I can explain. And I feel like this point in my life, I feel so excited I just feel excited about life now because I feel like I'm just getting to really know myself. And I've said that and people are just like, I didn't realize that you didn't know yourself. And I'm like, yeah, it's like I had a general idea of who I was, but now as I'm really doing the things that are out of my comfort zone, what I'm discovering is who I actually am. And it's a beautiful process. Like it's such a beautiful process to start to learn exactly who you are. And when you get solid in who you are, it's like when you were people pleasing, you're so if you heard a comment or someone's like, oh, they don't like you, you're just like, why? Like, why don't they like me? But like when you like you, then it don't even matter anymore, which is the best.
What's
feeling.
What I used to think, this point that we've reached in our life, or that chapter in your life where you're like, you know what, I like me, like I'm cool with me, and you just start moving in that, you start walking with that type of energy. I used to think it was an age thing, meaning that there was a certain age that you would hit to and you would have certain life experiences that would make you start conceptualizing this whole thing of like, hey, do I like me? Let me make sure that it works with me.
Right, yeah.
I don't know if you feel this way though. I've changed my mind. I don't think it's an age thing. I truly wholeheartedly believe that it's a Christ thing. Because there's so many times where I walk with Christ and things that used to bug me as a young adult and a teenager no longer bug me, which makes me think, damn, dude, what if I walked with you then? Like, how sure of myself would I have been then?
That's like
so especially when I think about, the youth, especially like my little brothers and my sisters. They're approaching teenage years where that whole concept of does everybody like me is amplified.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
Yeah. Like if you had it connected with Christ
just stay connected with him because like he's going to guide you, You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you really start realizing all the little petty things that we do as teenagers and in high school,
Yeah.
that those things don't matter. It's just a lot of projection of what bullies or whatever other people are feeling,
That's
and they're
what,
trying to put on you. You know, that's what we
Yeah.
are as teenagers and young adults in high school. Is we're just constantly projecting and throwing stuff out there.
yeah, from like 13 to 19, it's just such a chaotic point of your pivotal time of your life. And there's just a lot of trauma and healing that you have to now undo as you get older. But having a relationship with Christ would completely change that. But also at the same time, like, there's two sides of that. One, I want to say that I'm excited to raise children with you because we'll be able to do something that we'll be able to do
Wanna have a
something that our
baby?
parents weren't able to do.
You got a baby with me?
Maybe,
Hello, one.
maybe two.
Little chubby Asian baby.
Aww. Yeah, one, I'm excited to have children with you so that we can instill that into our kids, which our parents weren't able to do for us, in hopes that they will be so solid and know how to discern and be able to avoid a lot of those traumatic times. And then two, Christ is so awesome because I feel like even if you, it's almost those really dark times are the reason why Christ is so also important to me at the same time. Because I knew what it was like to not be with him and I knew what it is like to be with him. So I'm always, for that reason, even now, want to be as much as I can in this life, in this realm of being connected to Christ, because I remember and it scares me and I'm like, I don't want to be disconnected ever again. But you know what I mean? Like
I know
sometimes
exactly
you need
what you
to
mean.
have that. And I feel like even as we raise a kid to be perfect and instill, there's going to be a time where he just gets off that path. And then he's going to see like, oh, the fire does hurt. Like, let me come back home.
I think, you know, when Oscar was chilling with us yesterday, he was revealing his path with Christ. It was drilled into him. And I'm pretty sure he said this. One thing that stood out to me is that if he is our Heavenly Father, every human has the instinct of, as a teenager, wanting to rebel.
Yeah.
So even as we drill into our children or make sure that we involve their life with Christ, I think what you said is going to, it's a potential path, right? It's a potential path that they may actually rebel and be like, I don't want to do this. And they stray away. God willing, which I'm sure they come back to Christ, and then you say this, and I love when you say this, you say on fire for Christ. I don't think it's hard for a child to be on fire for Christ unless, you know, we figure out how to do it in the right way. But when they do come back, it's like, dude, they have a fire for Christ because they felt what it felt like to get burned a little bit.
Yeah.
You know? And that's the whole thing of free will, right? God is going to be like, all right, fine, like, go do your thing. Like, that's why I made you. Go do your thing.
Yeah.
But, like, you also know what it's like to be here with me, so I'll be here when you get back. As a matter of fact, God is so good that he'll let you do your thing and he'll go with you. Like, he'll still watch over you.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know this, but sometimes when we choose to not walk with Christ, we don't realize some of the chess pieces that he puts in front of our life to protect us from danger.
Mm-hmm.
And then once we do walk with him sometime, and we reflect on the time when we were walking without him, we're just like, damn, you were saving me from that situation. You were saving me from that situation.
Yeah.
And then you're even more grateful for him. You're even more grateful to him that even when you weren't listening, he still had your back.
Yeah. It makes me kind of like feel sad, and I feel like I've obviously forgiven myself for this, but I feel this, like the stronger I am connected with God, the more I feel this, what I'm talking about. And it's just this, like, man, God is so great to us and so merciful. And like, we really are so undeserving of his love because of the like BS we've done and the paths we've gone down. And it makes me think, I think the only way I can get rid of that feeling or to be okay with that is to dedicate my life to also extending that grace and mercy to other people, even when it's really hard. And I'm like, no, they deserve it. They don't deserve my love, or they don't deserve that. Like, give it, because you don't deserve it. And that's the way, because I feel like God is just like, it's pretty crazy to think that we could really go so much this way, but then have a repentful heart and be like, I'm sorry, and then he'll take you back. Like if you cheated on your spouse and you said, I'm sorry, they're like, I can't take you back, you know? But it's like God, it's like you can cheat, kill, like there's just so much, and anyone that takes advantage of that is just, I don't know, that's your conversation
You're
with
being
Christ.
a hypocrite.
Yeah.
You can't just throw God on
No,
everything.
no, exactly. You can't. And but yeah, I'm just so grateful to God, but that's something that I'm always going to be extending in my prayers, is just that gratitude for him to be so merciful to us and
And to
still
show that mercy to others.
yeah.
I feel you on that, because one of the things I remember reading in, I think it was Matthew, when Jesus says, if somebody slaps you, turn the other cheek. I'm like, oh, no, I don't want to do that.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And what I saw, what I started to realize is that he's like, bro, you're supposed to show mercy. And then how you said, it's like, think about all the times that God shows you mercy for everything that you do, everything that you say, and even everything that you think. And he still shows you mercy, and he still shows patience with you. And he wants you to embody that and show that to his children. Like, you need to be that example. So it's like, I love that concept of what you're saying, because one thing that it does help me do is it helps me settle my debts quickly. So if somebody does something that strikes me as off, it helps me settle it quickly, because it's like, dude, this guy,
right,
he gives you,
you
say sorry to him so much.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing. Also on this podcast, what we're gonna be doing is just, we're constantly seeking Christ, right? So in this podcast, when it's me and you, I want for us to share what revelations that God has been giving us in this season, or like this week. And what we're talking about now is something that God has been revealing to me constantly. It's just how much he's always been there for me. And I just been really just sitting and meditating on the character of God and his goodness. And it just makes me want to just change. It makes me want to be a better person. But I understand the idea of getting to know God more and allowing him to change your heart through getting to know him.
I love that, Bob. How do you get to know him more? I mean,
for me?
Yeah.
Just getting to know God more is just spending more time with him, like building that relationship and getting into my word. I've been diligent on those 30 minutes a day.
Reading 30 minutes a day?
Yeah, that's
what
I'm
I went for
starting.
an hour and 15 yesterday.
Wow, that's really good.
It's crazy. I was only going to do 30, and I was like, no, that's too good.
That's so good.
Let me keep going.
That's so good. What about you? What's something that God has revealed to you in this season? Or in this last week, something that
I think just most recent is the power to inspire people. But it's funny. God showed me that I can inspire people, but I wasn't trying to inspire people. For instance, like us working really hard at the gym, right? Like we just get in there. We even say a prayer before. It's like, God, thank you for this opportunity for us to work on our physical bodies. Like let's get after it.
Yes.
And on some of those sets that are really hard, or I just don't really want to do anything, I'm like, God's in my ear, he's in my head. So here we are, focused, trying to get this heavy leg day out of the way, and your brother comes, just like, bro, like I can't wait for my next like leg day, right? Just because he sees us, but the whole focus was us just focusing on us, right?
Yes.
Same thing with Kevin. Kevin sees us doing Bulgarian split squats, and he's just like, bro, I got to go up now. I can't be messing with these 30s. Right. Then goes, picks up 70s. One of the most impactful ones was this past weekend is I worked at an event, just to give you guys a little bit of a backstory. I worked at an event a couple months ago, maybe like 2 months ago, where I had a squad. And right before that, I just really wanted God's protection on this, especially it was my first time leading. So I asked the entire squad, I was like, hey, are you guys cool if I lead us in a prayer? So I said a prayer for the entire squad, make sure God's protection was on us. And fast forward like 2 months, I meet the homie Cam at Lightning in a Bottle, and he comes up to me, he's like, ever since Rasa, he's like, I've prayed every single event. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah, dude. He's like, and it's made like a ton of difference.
That's so awesome.
And so that was another thing for me too. I was just like, my intention was never to like inspire you to do that, So I know that when I seek God, I can inspire others. So if everybody I love the feeling of inspiring people. So like it makes me go even harder. That's why I'm reading extra time. And then even when I'm reading the Bible, I'm like really reading a lot more diligently.
I feel like also, really quick to touch on that, if you're not inspiring, you're like, I kind of want to make up this like word. It's like, what would be the opposite of inspiring?
Flubber.
Flubber. I
don't know.
I was gonna say, like, this is not a word, obviously, but like de-spiring, like
uninspired.
Yeah, like you're either inspiring or uninspiring somebody. There's already a word for it. Okay, so yeah, so you're either inspiring or uninspiring someone, meaning that as humans, we have the ability to either motivate someone or slow them down. And I feel like that's where it comes with the whole being accountable, and then making sure that you're making yourself solid when you see a little bit of that light, because you realize that my energy, my being has an impact. Is it going to be negative or is it going to be positive? So I love that you've been seeing that, because I love seeing that side of you, because that's something that is pretty new, and I love to see how fulfilled you are with that.
And what right now, when you were saying is that being inspiring or uninspiring, the first thing I thought of is like there's a right way to inspire people and there's a wrong way to inspire people. And the first thing that came to mind is like, obviously I work some of these festivals, the guys who are sitting outside with megaphones and church signs and stuff, and they're just telling everybody they're going to go to hell and that they're all sinners. I'm like, bro, that does not inspire people to join on the side. I kind of look at them like, you're making us look bad.
Right,
because you can bring people along with you.
Yeah, there's always...
The most effective way that I have come across... I'm sorry, just let me finish this.
Yeah, that's fine.
The most effective way that I have come across is by leading by example. Mm-hmm. And when people see you, you just say, hey, the big man got me. Like, all you're seeing, this, especially the people who know you already and they see a difference in you, it's like, bro, it's the big man. It's like
just giving God his credit, because it's not you. It's not you, because if it was you, then you would have been like this the whole time.
Yeah.
And this is new for you, so what changed?
Exactly.
Yeah. It's just all about giving that credit. And I feel that, I know exactly what you mean. It's like there's a right way to do it and there's a wrong way to do it. And your motives have to be to remember that you are impacting people, like I said, but also to do it for you ultimately, like start with the center for you and God, and to not do it for you, but get you right for God to make him proud. And then you just see like the network of people being affected around you. It's like your mom, your dad, you're inspiring everyone by just focusing on you and God and who God created for you to be.
Yep.
And we're kind of short on time today, so we're going to close out there. But you guys, we're just so excited to step into this new chapter. This is going to be much more comfortable, much more close and intimate. So I'm really excited for you guys to join us along this way.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Let's end with a prayer?
Yes. All right. Okay. Beloved Heavenly Father, we just want to say thank you so much for this beautiful life that you have given to us. We want to say special prayers to the other person that is on the other side of the screen. May you bless them with just blessings and blessings and blessings for their week. It's going to be an awesome week, and it's all glory to you, Father. We thank you, and we want to cast all burdens and all insecurities, limitations, any false beliefs, anything that is holding us back to you, Lord, and we know that you can rescue us and lift us from that. So we thank you. And we honor you, and we offer you this prayer. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, you guys, go ahead and get your godly gains. We love you
guys
so much.
Guys. Make sure you guys like and subscribe.
Yes.
Follow us on Instagram at The Godly Gains.
Yes.
Is it podcast or just at The Godly Gains?
At The Godly Gains.
It is, yeah.
Podcast.
At The Godly.
Oh, at The Godly Gains.
Yeah, at The Godly Gains. You have Nate Dizzle, just Michael _. And I also wanted to introduce something new too. Because this is Godly Gains, guys, in the comment section, let us know. Well,
in the comment section.
Let us know your godly gains, because that's the whole point of the gains part. It's like, let's be sharing all of our gains so that we can capitalize and move and get better. Exactly. And you know what I'm saying? So if start that new segment, hit us up. If you all need us to pray for you for something and the community to pray for you, also do that as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think that wraps it up.
Yeah? All right, guys, get your godly gains. We'll see you next time.
We love you. Bye.